And once again, thank you very much for your continued support to All Digital and our activities. As I mentioned, we have for the All Digital Weeks campaign supporters like Microsoft, and we have strategic partners. And Andrea, my colleague, would be able to confirm how many strategic partners we have, but definitely one of them is the lifelong learning platform. And I would like to welcome the Secretary General, Executive Director of Lifelong Learning Platform, Brikena Xhomaqi, who is with us today. And Brikena, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hopefully there was a small scale. Okay, well, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I know I'm very small. Well, I'm glad to be here, and it's a great honor as well to be part of the opening of the All Digital Weeks, which is now a well-established tradition organized by All Digital, where I had the pleasure in the past as well to contribute, and it's becoming a key milestone in the EU agenda in the digital field. So I'm really honored to be here, and to so many of you, some of you that I know, others that I will have probably the chance to get to know. I just run from Paris, so I'm super energetic mentally, but physically exhausted. And I really wanted to be here. So I really insisted, despite my my busy agenda, because I was actually in Paris. We had a research conference on transversal skills assessment and validation. And on validation of non-formal and informal learning, which I know is one of the areas that you are covering as well, and is an important issue, your work as well. But I wanted to be here because I think one of the missions of All Digital, one of the great work that you are doing, is to ensure the social dimension of digital education and training. And I truly believe in that. And we must continue to fight for ensuring that social dimension. And I'm glad that the lifelong learning platform can count on the work of All Digital and other member organizations. We are a big, happy family that think alike of many education and training providers, civil society organizations, from formal education sector to non-formal and informal learning, as it was mentioned by Gina from EAEA as well, how much we value the work and the added value of non-formal and informal learning. So for us, it's very important that we work together, and it was mentioned that indeed we cannot solve the issue alone. We need to work together. When it comes to the link of digital education and training and lifelong learning, as we speak of digital divide issues, well, they are kind of interlinked with each other. They kind of help each other. So we need more lifelong learning in order to get the skills, equip people, empower individuals with digital and basic skills in order to further give learning opportunities to new learners. So on one side, lifelong learning is helping digital education and training, but on the other side, digital education and training is creating new opportunities to a new and more diverse learners group, those that for social economic reasons cannot continue a conventional education journey, or just attend classes, or just don't want to attend classes. So we see a lot of opportunities coming with the digital development in education and training, but also a lot of risks, a lot of dangers, if we don't equip the people with those prerequisite skills, the basic and transversal skills, the critical thinking, and the safety to use those digital skills and to navigate in the digital world. I think these risks are not yet enough explored, are not yet enough researched. We don't have sufficient data to prove the impact that they are having on the learners, and we must invest on that. I think it's very important, and the pandemic showed us how important it was to was equipped with digital skills and digital infrastructures, but also how to prepare people to critically use them. So I think these are some of the challenges that we must work on together. ensuring the social dimension of the digital education and training means also rethinking the role of education of teachers. And in the lifelong learning platform, we promote the idea of the learner-centered approach. So basically all the development in digital and education training and technologies must look at the learner at the center and learners' needs as the key influential in those developments. And that means looking also at the way teachers and teaching is organized in a classroom. We don't believe anymore on a teachers to student type of relation, but rather on a facilitation role that the teacher has now, or that the educator has, to guide individuals, use their knowledge, because each of us comes in the classroom or in whatever learning environment with a lot of knowledge that is not exploited, is not aware of. So the teacher plays that key role. And the digital technologies can facilitate that, can make the teaching experience maybe more joyful, can make it more dynamic if used, and if, of course, we have the skills to use them in that way. But also, digital social dimension of the digital development means also looking at how digital tools are preparing people to a new way of participating in the society, are ensuring that everyone is on board in the digital world and that we don't leave anyone behind. That means having the skills to participate in the democratic life. Nowadays, especially younger generations, they tend to participate in democratic process, not anymore through a vote, but through opinions and feedbacks on social media and on different digital tools. They are not considered yet by the democratic governance, and yet they exist. So we need to see at how to exploit this potential, but also how to make the best out of it, to have everyone on board for a democratic society. And I think that the research, as I mentioned, is very important in that regards. Very often we see the two-speed. Obviously, we need to work with the private sector, but what we see between private and public sector is that there are two different levels of speed. One is going faster than the other. And the problem of that is that we are serving those that, okay, need further digital skills, but they already are qualified. So we are serving the already qualified people, and we're not necessarily serving those that are most in need. So we need to be careful that we do not reinforce the inequalities. I mean, I did hear very well Microsoft saying about how they also look at these vulnerable groups, and I obviously would encourage all companies to do so, and there are plenty of examples that they are doing so, but the speed of it is so scary, and we must do it in cooperation with civil society organizations. We must do it with NGOs, community actors that are closer to those groups. So it's very important that we shape the future of digital education and training together. And in that shaping, I also want to say that we need and we must empower people to think of the social change as they are the drivers, rather than digital being the drivers of social change, which very often we kind of have the feeling of, like the digital is pushing us towards something instead of we are pushing through digital to something. So I think if I would have one big message here today for you, and which I hope these weeks will discuss about as you are focusing on issues of inclusion, equality, equity, is really how we take the control to shape the future using digital tools and digital means to do so, to empower individuals and to ensure this social dimension of digital development. And today was a happy day because the Commission announced the 2 Council recommendations, which look indeed, one of them looks at these aspects of digital education and training, and the other one looks at the digital teaching, digital skills teaching professions, which also lags behind in Europe. We have plenty of issues. We see it on every day. We saw it today. We can not always trust digital tools, we must continue to invest. We must continue to work together. And I think these weeks are an example of that. So I congratulate you, and I wish you all the best for these weeks, and count, of course, on all the network to push together for this agenda. Thank you very much for having me.